जी बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, आवाज आ रही है? अच्छा जी, we start with the second part of the lecture, which is an important knowledge area, that is project cost management. How do we define the cost of a project? What is cost? What comes in your mind when we talk about cost? जी हाँ जी, एक बंदा बात करे. What is cost? जी जरा करीब कर. जी, what is cost? Actually, budget is something which we allocate to meet the cost. But what is cost? When we talk about cost of life, when we talk about cost of a project, cost of an item, cost of a product, what does it mean? Actual amount incurred for the project. Yes. So basically, the cost is the monetary value or the monetary amount which we need to pay for acquiring a product or service is normally the cost. So for any resource which we need to acquire and we convert that into cost, that is a dollar or rupee, that becomes cost. So cost is basically the monetary value for any resource or any product or service which we acquired for the project is cost. Now, we discussed last time that we have the fixed cost, which is sometimes called capital cost or capital expenditure or capex. This is the cost which we spend on acquiring the resources or acquiring the machinery, the land. So normally it is one-time cost, and it is capital cost or fixed cost. And before the start of any project to operate, we invest huge money as a capital cost. So capital cost is basically the fixed cost which we invest in raising the project, the various elements of the projects. And once the project is starting its operation, then we have the variable cost or operational cost. And sometimes we call it operational expenses, and also we call it sometimes OPEX. So we have two kind of expenditures or cost in mind. One is capital expenditure, the other one is operational expenditure. So CAPEX and OPEX. And certainly when the operations are increasing, for example, when university had 4,000 students, we had a different variable cost, our recurring cost. And today, if we are 9,000 plus, then definitely the student cost, total cost of student operations or university operations have increased. So the operational cost would increase with more operations of the project. And once the project start developing new products and services, then definitely the operational cost will increase. Sometimes we divide it into direct cost and indirect cost. Direct cost is normally the cost which we spend on acquiring the goods or services. For example, when we talk about the construction direct cost, we have the material cost, we have the labor cost, we have the taxes, and all these are profits. And then we have the indirect cost, which are the costs which are not directly spent on the raising of the infrastructure or the facilities, but we have cost like cost of your financial cost, your cost of home office, your cost of corporate office, your cost of headquarters. So all these costs are also part of the cost. So we have direct and indirect cost. Direct are the costs which we spend on the item or services or products directly, which is normally having the material and the labor, the taxes, which we spend at the time of procuring the products or services. And then we have a term sunk cost. What is meant by sunk cost? Sunk से sunk है ना? What we mean by sunk cost? G. What is meant by sunk cost? G. हाँ जी, ये स्पीकर इनके करीब करे. What is meant by sunk cost? Aji, what is meant by sunk? Yes, so sunk cost is normally not recoverable. Many times when the projects are failed, we spend a lot of money and we then maybe abandon these projects. We stop these projects, and a lot of money which has already been sunk in the project is not converting. So when we design the projects, the sick projects, and we make it a new project, we normally don't consider the sunk project, the sunk cost, because sunk cost is the money which we have already wasted in terms of project failure, and that is not normally recoverable because the sunk cost is a kind of uncollectible or non-receivable kind of money which we have already spent in the projects. So many times we see that projects are abandoned due to the political changes, due to technical changes, due to change in the priorities of the society. And the money which we have already spent on such projects is a sunk project, a sunk cost. ये पढ़े जी एक तरफ से शुरू करें ताकि मैं आपकी start from ये बेटी आप शुरू करें, then we will move forward one slide by slide and I'll explain.
Basic principles of risk management. Both CEOs and boards spoke more about financing and team. So IT projects, project managers are speak their language. The profits are revenues minus expenses. Life cycle costing is estimating the cost of a project plus the maintenance cost of the product it produces. Cash flow analysis is determining the estimated and the cost and benefits to a project. Benefits includes can be tangible or intangible, direct or indirect. Some costs should not be a criteria in project selection.
Okay, so we discussed four important things that the profits of the projects or the profit of any business is the total revenue minus the total cost. The second important consideration is life cycle costing. And you know that this is one of the basic principles of the PEPRA rules also, that when we are procuring the product and services for the projects, we have to take care of the life cycle costing. What is life cycle costing? हाँ जी, आप बताएं, जिन्होंने ये स्लाइड पढ़ी है वो बता दें. What is life cycle costing?
Estimating the cost of the project plus the maintenance cost of the project produces.
Yeah, so instead of just taking care of the capital or the fixed cost, we should also consider the operational maintenance and even the disposal cost. And I gave you an example of generator. That maybe a generator is cheaper by 1 million apparently, and you may decide that this is a cheaper, low-cost procurement. But later on, you come to know that the operational cost of the generator is very high. The per hour diesel consumption is also very high as compared to the other generators. So instead of selecting the generator based on the capital cost or initial cost, it is more appropriate that we analyze the generator in terms of its operational cost, its term of maintenance cost, design life, and all these important attributes, availability of spare parts, availability of salvage, and cost, and all these. So this is really very important that when we talk about the, and I told you that this is one of the basic principles of the public procurement rules, that you have not only to buy the cheapest products, you have to take care of its maintenance, operations, repair and maintenance during the life cycle or during the design life. The third thing shows that annual cost cash flow analysis that मैंने last time भी बताया था that whatever we invest into the project is cash inflow, and what we get out of the project is cash outflows. And the net revenue or the net is the cash outflow minus cash inflow. And these cash inflow outflows are determined on the basis of the annual basis, based on the discounted value of the future incomes. The benefit in cost may be tangible or intangible. For example, when we talk about the construction of new expressway, the tangible benefit may be the toll tax or the revenue we generate from the toll tax of the expressway or the motorway. But the indirect benefits may be the saving of time, reduced accidents, and many other benefits which are not easily converted into dollar value, but certainly the low repair and maintenance of the vehicles and so on. So the benefits and cost may be tangible, that you can convert that easily into the dollar value or rupee value, and it may be intangible, which is not easy to determine, but certainly the intangible benefits are also very important when we talk about the public sector projects. Finally, when we are selecting the project, we should not take care of the money which has already been wasted or sunk, which is not recoverable, in fact. So we will not consider that as a part of our analysis. Aji.
Tangible goes for benefits, but those goes for benefit made and organization can easily bear in knowledge. Intangible goes for benefits, but those with benefits they are difficult to bear in monetary terms. Direct goods are goods that may be directly related to producing the products and services of the project. Indirect goods are goods that are not directly related to the products or services of the project, but are indirectly related to performing the project.
I gave you an example. For example, the expenditure we incur in the corporate office, we incur in the home office, my personal vehicle, which I'll be using for the project, which is not directly charged to the project, but certainly there is an expense. So these are the indirect cost for the projects. Sunk money or sunk cost?
Sunk cost is money that has been spent in the past when deciding what project to invest in or continuing, you should not use sunk costs.
We discussed this. Aage ji?
Learning curve, we state that when many items are produced frequently, the unit cost for those items increases in a regular pattern as more units are produced.
So learning curve, yes, learning curve or learning curve means that when we produce in large quantity, the per unit cost would decrease, and this is sometimes called economy of scale also. So maybe when we produce for the first time, maybe for first 100 items, we have high cost per unit, but we are keep on producing larger amount of the products, then certainly our per cost would be decreased per unit cost, and that is learning curve. And a learning curve simply means that once we are doing some operations, when we do it for the first time, we take a lot of time and resource. But when we are doing it repeatedly, for example, when I learned the driving for the first time, I remember that I could come to my office from my home. I took more than half an hour. But later on, when I learned through repeated driving, then I used to spend less than 5 or 6 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. So the learning curve means that when we are doing things time and again, when we are producing the products in time and again, in larger amounts and larger times, then certainly we will learn and our per unit cost would decrease. Aage ji?
Third and audits included in a post estimate to mitigate post risk by allowing for future situations that are difficult to predict.
So there are many risks involved because cost cannot be perfect. There are inflations, there are a lot of external exogenous factors which would impact so there is always a reserve, and this reserve is for contingency reserves and management reserves. Padaji?
Contingency reserves allow for future situations they may be partially paid for sometimes for known, unknown, and are included in the project cost baseline. Management reserves allow for future situations that are unpredictable, sometimes called unknown unknowns.
So there are known unknowns and there are unknown unknowns. For example, known unknown means that we know that the weather may be bad. We know that there will be inflation. We know that there will be some holidays in the Eid and so on. So these are known unknown, but we don't know what can be the impact of this delay. And the unknown means that which are not easy to predict. For example, accident on the sites, strikes in the market, some new taxes which the government may impose, which are not known to us at the time of estimation. So for these two types of unknowns, which is known unknown, which is very quite familiar and very common in the projects. As I mentioned, the delay, inflation, price escalation, and all these are certainly something which we can predict easily. But at the same time, there might be unknown, which are the circumstances which are beyond the control of project managers. Maybe there is some earthquake, maybe there is some climate impact, there is flood or something like that. But we don't know how it can happen and when it can happen. But for those both such kind of unknowns, we need to have some reserves in the projects. For good projects, we normally recommend that there must be at least 10% reserves for contingency and management. Unfortunately, in our country, the contingency has been reduced. At time when I was at your stage, the contingency used to be 5%, then it was reduced to 3%. Abhi kitna hai contingency? 2% or 1%? प्रोजेक्ट में अभी कंटिजेंसी कितनी अप्रूव हो रही है प्लानिंग कमीशन 2%. So certainly it has been reduced to a greater extent, and that makes definitely the project challenging, because if there is some unusual circumstances, then we definitely don't have the money to meet such kind of things. आगे जी आप पढ़े जी the next one. Who is the next? आपके बाद जो है वो पढ़े. पढ़े जी कौन पढ़ रहे हैं? ये speak. Next should read it out, because so that there is participation from the class.
Project cost management. Project cost management includes the processes involved in planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling. Controlling costs of the project completed within the approved project budget.
So cost management simply means that we know that cost is one of the biggest constraint on the project. We have limited money. We cannot increase the cost the way we like. There is always a constraint for the government. So definitely we have to manage the cost in a way that the cost remains in our control. Pareji?
Plan cost management, the process of defining how the project cost will be estimated, budgeted, managed, monitored, and controlled.
So for इसमें चार चीजें that how will we estimation किस तरह करेंगे, then how we will budget it along the life cycle of the project, and then how we will monitor and control so that there is no variation in the cost. The cost estimation.
Cost estimating, developing an approximation of the costs of the resources needed to complete project activities. Cost budgeting, aggregating the estimated costs of individual activities or work packages to establish a cost baseline. Cost control, influencing the factors that create cost variances and controlling changes to the project budget.
जी, पढ़े अभी.
Project cost management. Project cost management is primarily concerned with the cost of the resources needed to complete project activities. Project cost management should consider the effect of project decisions on the subsequent recurring cost of using, maintaining, and supporting the product, service or result of the project. For example, limiting the number of design reviews can reduce the cost of project but could increase the resulting products operating costs.
The first thing we normally do is the cost management, and we try to see that what will be the cost of different resources we will require in the project, and we will try to control the cost right from the planning process, so that we have enough enough money to complete the project.
Plan cost management is the process of defining how the project costs will be estimated, budgeted, managed, monitored, and controlled.
The key benefit.
The key benefit of this process is that it provides guidance and directions on how the project cost will be managed throughout the project. The process is performed once or at predefined points in the project.
So right from the day first, we have a fair assessment in our mind that how the project costing will be met and how the money would be available in the projects, how it will be spent. So this planning is really very important across the entire life cycle of the projects. Unfortunately, sometimes we have excess money in our accounts because the government releases are not in time. For instance, in one of our projects, the government released 150 million just 1 month back or 3 weeks back, and they are now pushing us to complete the utilization before 30th June so that there is no lapse of the money. So this is due to poor financial cost planning by the government that the money is not released in time, and normally towards the end of quarter, the money is released, and then we have a lot of troubles in spending such money. So there must be a proper planning in which we reconcile the how the money would be released by for the projects and how would it be spent. And I also discussed that we have the work plan and cash plan. We have two documents in the government. One is the work plan, that how different activities will be executed in certain quarter of the years, and then how the activity will create certain financial or cost. So we develop the work plan, which is based on the activities, and then we develop the cash plan, which is based on the amount we would need to pay for these activities and tasks. So this is planning is very important. Once we do it, then certainly it will be the obligation of the government that that the money is released as per the agreed cash plan. Unfortunately, this is not practiced in a true spirit, and sometimes we have, for example, in first quarter we don't have release of money, and then all of a sudden they start releasing money maybe towards the end of the year, maybe in May or 15th May, and then it becomes really a challenge for the government, for the agencies, executing agencies to utilize this money. And this is poor cost planning in the public sector. Cost estimation.
Estimate cost is the process of developing an approximation of the cost of resources needed to complete project work. The key benefit of this process is that it determines the monetary resources required for the project. This process is performed periodically throughout the project as needed. A cost estimate is a quantitative assessment of the likely cost for resources required to complete the activities. It is a prediction that is based on the information known at a given point in time. Cost estimates include the identification and consideration of costing alternatives to initiate and complete the project. Cost estimates are generally expressed in units of some currency, for example, dollars, euros, yen, etc.
Maybe Pak rupees. So what we in fact do, that right at the project stage, we try to determine that what is the cost of the project or estimate, and we do different kind of estimation techniques. To estimate the cost would mean that we can fairly assess the monetary value of different resources we need for the completion of project. And again, this cost estimate is not 100% correct because that is based on the available information, and certainly the information may refine when the projects are proceeding, and that's why there is always a challenge in the cost estimation. Aji. Now there are a couple of techniques. For example, I'll not read it, but I'll just quickly explain it. That analogous estimation, that you have done certain projects of similar nature, maybe in Gilgit or in other parts of the GB, and based on your previous experience, you can assess the project cost. So this is the analogous means similar. Analogy means similarity, and similar means that you have done such kind of projects and you know that what will be the per unit cost in that. Pareji?
Using the actual cost of previous similar projects as the based on estimating the cost of the current project. Analogous cost estimating uses expert judgment. Analogous cost estimating is frequently used to estimate cost when there is a
Limited amount of
limited amount of detailed information about the project. Generally less costly than other techniques. Generally less accurate.
So the analogous cost estimation may be very high than the actual. It may be less, maybe 20 to 25% less than actual, or maybe 20 to 25% more than the actual. But sometimes it is quick in the sense that you have a previous experience. For example, if somebody told you that I want to construct a house of so many square area in 10 marla house, so based on your experience, you can say that, okay, I have completed this last year, so let me just assess it based on the analogy. But certainly this is not a correct estimation because it is based on personal experience, and the personal experience may not be perfect. The second is that we determine the resource cost, that we determine the cost for each and every resource, and then we get the quotations from the market, and based on the quotations, we determine the total cost. Pareji?
Determine resource cost rate for each resources to estimate scheduled activity costs. Standard rates with escalation factors can be included in the contract. Obtaining data from commercial database and seller published price list in another source of cost rate. Gathering costs.
So sometime we may go to the website of the vendor and we may get the prices from there for estimation. Sometime we go to the market and collect the quotations or the quotes from the market. And so that is, we determine the direct cost based on the available information in the market. Aage ji?
Bottom-up estimating. The techniques involves estimating the cost of individual work package or individual scheduled activities with the lowest level of detail. The cost and accuracy of bottom-up cost estimating is typically motivated by the complexity of the individual scheduled activity or work package. Generally, activities with smaller associated effort increase the accuracy of the scheduled activity cost estimates.
Now, the bottom estimation, which we sometimes call detailed cost estimate in the government departments, what we do that we divide the project into smaller components, and we determine the cost for each and every component, maybe based on schedule of rates or maybe based on market analysis, and then we sum up all the individual events and activities cost and come up with the total cost. So it is bottom of estimation, which means that we go to the lowest level of activities. Misal ke taur pe, when we talk about the cost estimate for a road work, then we will determine the earthwork detail based on the right of way and the profile of the road. And then we determine the sub-base preparation, and then we go for base course and then the wearing course. And so we determine all the activities and then we determine the prices based on the schedule of rates we are using, or based on the market analysis if we don't have the schedule of rates available. And based on that, then we determine the total cost of each and every activity and the total cost of project. Now, this kind of estimation is certainly very good